Welcome back to the Nerdyjock, where every week we are watching Dragon Ball Daima as it comes out and then immediately coming here and recording our thoughts. This is Kevin Ketcham, the Nerdyjock himself.
How are we doing, everyone? Welcome back to the show. And this is my co-host here, DK, aka the DB Guru.
And we are covering this week Dragon Ball Daima Episode 6, Lightning! Yeah, so let's just jump right into this. I mean, you said it right before. A little thin on the plot this week, but very heavy on the eye candy.
Yeah, I'd say lightning is a misinterpretation for the name of the episode. I wouldn't say sparks are really flying on this one, but there was some cool eye candy, some great visual effects, like Glorio, Gorillo, whatever Goku wants to call him. He had some cool magic, But,
yeah, he can do Thundaga from Final Fantasy VIII, or like any of those lightning spells, which is why it was called Lightning. But we had another Super Saiyan transformation in this episode. This one a little bit more dramatic, a little bit cooler, and a little bit more, I would say, narratively relevant,
right?
For sure, because the point was that they wanted to test how strong he was, because Glorio is a super shady guy.
So we've all had our thoughts about who we think Glorio really is,
right?
What his ambitions are, who his loyalties are to. We've known that since the beginning. We thought Scallon's really figure like a Han Solo, but in this episode we realize he's not just Han Solo, but a good version. He's more of a Harrison Ford. He's got some black whip magic as well, but we still don't really know who he is totally.
Right. Well, we know, I mean, there was the subtle and the not so subtle thing when they were talking about we got the lore where Pansy asked Kaioshin, "Oh, is it true that glins come from trees?" And he's like, "Yes, and there are 5 glin trees and all this stuff, and my brother works for Goma, but my sister Arinsu also works for Goma." And then we had that super dramatic close up of Glorio's face.
He does this.
Yeah, and it's like,
look,
I wonder if there's a connection. But then later, whatever subtlety there was just completely like, no, he is like literally working for her to some degree. Yeah,
he does pull out a cell phone. He gives her a call, and they discuss their diabolical plans.
Right. Which again, this is like such a thing out of a JRPG. This is where it's like you're camping and then one of the characters sneaks away and has a secret conversation. Yeah. And you're like, oh damn, like something's going on behind the scenes.
They start the fire like in every JRPG. They get that going around the fireplace. Little conversation. So Supreme Kai does talk to Glorio because he already has suspicions, and he's just kind of slowly picking away at his brain, trying to figure out what is going on behind the scenes with Glorio.
Right. And then, just the we were laughing quite a bit at the whole Minotaur bit that just ran through the episode. Like everything about that joke was classic Toriyama. The setup and how scary it was, and then Goku just immediately, oh, it's just a cow. It's like, don't scare us like that.
Yeah, this huge bulked up, 12 foot tall Minotaur comes out.
Yeah.
He's menacing, going to eat him. And, Goku just straight up, he just says, oh, it's a cow. He's like, I'm not a cow. I can walk on 2 feet. And we were laughing pretty much the whole time.
He's like, I'm going to eat you. And then Goku and Glorio have an argument over who's going to fight him. And then they're just like, hey, how about we just fight each other?
Yeah.
And this Minotaur is sidelined watching their fight with his jaw on the ground, seeing how strong they both are.
The Minotaur's reactions were fantastic. You even get the nervous sweat going down when you realize these guys are super powerful.
Right.
You realize that quickly they're on that, this Minotaur doesn't pose a threat at all. It's just really a funny kind of comedic device in this narrative right here for sure.
It was great. It was
a cool part.
Very like Stephen Chow, Mole Tao's kind of like Hong Kong humor, I would say too. Like you set up this like big thing and then you just rip the rug out and then and then it just becomes this ongoing gag where he's just standing there. He's like, hey, am I being ignored? Like he's not even asserting any sort of And he's sort of dominant trying to actually eat them. He's just standing there just looking awkward, which was hilarious.
Yeah, and it's funny because, there was a plug last episode for this episode. So we knew we were going to see Glorio fight Goku, right? And we thought this Minotaur was going to be a bigger threat than he obviously was. Not a threat at all. Kind of like you mentioned, actually, when we were watching, you said, oh, it's like Oolong, the first appearance of Oolong in Dragon Ball.
I thought it would be a shapeshifter. I was like, how if this could just get any more Dragon Ball?
Yeah.
We have the Bulma, we have the Yamcha, now we just need the Oolong.
Yep.
So, but yeah, no, I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, this is a 40th anniversary special, so it's pulling from all aspects of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, even a little bit of Super. But definitely leaning heavy into the Dragon Ball, like we keep saying, and definitely in the JRPG. I think every episode we're gonna have to talk about JRPGs for a little bit at least, or just what they pulled from JRPGs in this episode. Because the Minotaur character himself, that I think I've seen character models from Dragon Quest that are was that Minotaur.
There's a Minotaur in, I think, every Final Fantasy game somewhere. I mean, it's impossible to avoid the comparison. The music, the atmosphere, the way that they discuss the world, everything. It is like Goku was just dropped into the middle of a JRPG. Yep. And what's crazy is that, even though the pacing is super slow and the plot is kind of thin, I'm kind of into it. Every week, I am more and more I am on board for this JRPG Dragon Ball story, because this is a Dragon Ball story that I don't think I would have ever expected outside of maybe fan fiction or something. Where it's let's put him on a completely unexpected adventure in a new land. Because Super, for all of its merits, like we talked about last week, it does kind of retread a lot of things that we're used to. It's here's a tournament, here's a new transformation, here's Broly again, here's Cell again, all that stuff. And this is just even though this is in a lot of ways similar to GT or Dragon Ball, it does feel very, very fresh for Dragon Ball. So yeah, I'm liking it.
Yeah, I mean, great point, DK. I kind of look at it like this: as I have to realize after the third or fourth episode, we knew it was gonna be different, right?
Right.
So I had to recalibrate my expectations for what the show was gonna be, right?
Yeah.
We all thought was it gonna go into more Z heavy? Was it gonna be a little bit more GT, or is it even be a little more Super? But actually, rewound the clock all the way back to Dragon Ball. I mean, we should have known that from the beginning. But now it's just hey. We're cruising in a convertible or whatever their hover pod. We're just cruising with them. Mm-hmm. We're going along for the ride. It's not going to be too crazy. There's not going to be too many bumps. Maybe a couple falls here and there, just like in the beginning of this episode where they had a little plane crash. But in general, you're just kind of cruising along for the ride. We talked earlier today while we were watching the episode, and I said Dragon Ball Daima, I guarantee you by episode 10, it's really going to pump up the volume. Probably even the next 2 episodes, it's gonna probably get to where we thought it was gonna be more action, more pacing, stuff like that, more plot narratives. Right now, we're just kind of cruising at 55 on the freeway to Vegas.
Well, that was my question after today's episode, where just about the pacing in general. Is I know it's a 20 episode order, right? 20 episodes, and we're on episode 6 now, and despite enjoying whatever's happened so far, nothing has really happened. I mean, even the ship isn't fixed back on Earth. It was briefly fixed and then it crashed, which was kind of superfluous. But I'm at the end of 20 episodes, is this going to be done? Is there going to be more Daima next year? How much outlining did Toriyama do before he passed away? I don't know. But I can already, if there are people who are just sort of grinding through this who don't like it, who are just waiting for okay, well, when this is over, we're finally going to get Super. I wonder if at this point they're sort of clenching their butt cheeks going, oh crap, there might be much more Daima after 20 episodes because nothing has happened so far.
Yeah, I bet you most of the complaints we're going to see from viewers on YouTube or any of the social media sites that we have. So just subscribe and like if you haven't yet. We're not going to do a deep plug right now, but just saying that usually I get it. I get it. If you're at home, you're like, man, what is this? It's not what I expected, and it's still kind of light on the plot. We get it. We think that in general, Dragon Ball Daima would probably be best, even though we're doing it week to week. It would probably be best to do as a binge.
Right, you keep saying that. Yeah,
I keep saying it, and
it's a binge show.
It's a binge show. Like us, it's different because we're just kind of chilling along for the ride on this journey and just really having a good time thinking about all the good old days of Dragon Ball, all the nostalgia.
Yeah, and it does feel a little bit like being a kid again, where it's you wake up one day a week. you wake up and you get ready to watch Dragon Ball, which for me that's a fun part of the experience. And also the animation looks great, so it's a fun show to watch. But I wanted to go back in time again really quick because you keep you keep mentioning the 40-year anniversary.
Yeah.
And you made an offhand point last week that you don't know how prophetic and true it was, and I didn't either. And then I just on happenstance remembered all of this stuff. Yeah. So you made a comparison to Curse of the Blood Rubies last week, and then we were talking about there's a lot of similarities with this and that. And I misspoke. It's not King Gomez, it's King Gurumez, but still pretty similar to Goma or whatever. Right. But Goku, the adventure to stop King Gurumez is incited by a little girl who is part of a kingdom that King Gurumez is sort of destroying, looking for blood rubies, and that little girl's name is Pansy.
Is it really?
It's Pansy, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, like the similarities, there are multiple.
So like we said last week, we said there's going to be Easter eggs galore, right? And that's one that we just thank God we have encyclopedic memories of Dragon Ball, or try to at least. But.
Well, there was a shot of Goku that I remember being like. I felt something when I saw it, and I should have spent a little bit more time investigating why, because I usually pick up on this stuff. But when he looked over his shoulder at Kaioshin and he's like, "Don't worry, it'll be good training," there was something about his design where like his head curved a certain way and came over his nose, and it was a recreation of a very famous over-the-shoulder shot of Goku from Dragon Ball Z. Like I saw in animation breakdowns, they layered it one-on-one over it. It was an exact fit. Damn. They just departed from the character sheets completely just to do that little like one-shot homage to the past, which was great. And I remember like seeing it like that looks familiar. Yeah. Like it touched that thing, it's like that is super familiar. And yeah, there's just lots of little Easter eggs like that in the animation and the plot, whatever. We didn't get my Tree of Might moment yet where he blasts people with both of his arms, but we'll see if it happens.
It might happen. I mean, anything is on the table right now. I mean, speaking of animation, Dan, this episode had a pretty fantastic Glorio Goku fight scene.
I would say some of the best animation we've seen so far, and that's saying something because we've had nothing but good animation from the show. Yeah, the fight between Glorio and Goku was so beautifully animated. I loved the transformation, and
it was subtle. It wasn't like a chaotic transformation. It was like a slow burn to Super Saiyan, and it was cool how they did it. Right. Usually there's a couple music cues. They had the whoosh, 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 the power up, but they didn't have like any kind of like any kind of Dragon Ball cues that you've known and loved from watching Dragon Ball Z when he's about to turn, or just to get him excited. It was cool to see them say, you know what, we're actually going to take a more reserved approach to him going Super Saiyan under his own control, instead of like last episode where it's just like a 3 seconds flash. Yeah,
that little like dopamine shotgun blast last time. Yeah, versus this was like, it actually, I think that Super Saiyan just always is better when it's slow. Yeah. Like one of my favorite Super Saiyan transformations in Z of all time was when Goku goes Super Saiyan when they're facing off against 20 and 19.
Right.
It's just such a slow moment the way that it's animated, but it looks great. And everything about this, it was boarded well, it was animated well. I don't know who the staff are on this. I mean, we literally like we stopped watching it and then like now we're here talking about it. So
I mean, the lighting effects were great too. I mean, Glorio had some pretty cool magic. He even did a hilarious. We had to make another reference. We said earlier about Harrison Ford.
Right, yeah.
He pulls out, he's doing magic, and you see it's like lightning, called lightning because of his technique. It looks very similar to lightning, but he also does like a My Hero Academia Black Whip-esque / Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones whip attack with his magic. So we're like, okay, not only are we doing Han Solo with him, we're actually just going to do Harrison Ford in general.
Yeah, he's just Indiana Jones, Han Solo.
Air Force One.
And they Air Force One, yeah.
Driving the planes. Yeah.
And
get off my plane.
The other Star Wars reference is that we know that the third demon world has 2 suns.
Yes,
so
and
it is very much Tatooine.
And now there's 2 suns on in this part of the demon world, in the third world.
I gotta say too, like I haven't talked a whole lot about the background art in this show, but it's like I think maybe the best backgrounds that Dragon Ball has ever had. Like anytime there's a shot of the Lookout with that cloud cover underneath, it's like the Lookout has never looked better than that.
Yeah.
Everything looks good. Like the backgrounds are just they're so beautiful, and this whole show, everything about it, I think that maybe that's why this is such a peaceful show, why we can tolerate a little bit of a thin plot, because we are just kind of on an adventure through a world that's beautifully rendered, and we can see that, and we feel, you know, almost like we're there because of it.
Yeah, we're just taking it in, and we're on the slow. It's not super fast. We're on a slow burn. You know, I get it. People are gonna say, "Oh, this is so boring," or this and that. I'm loving it. I'm having a great time.
Yeah,
I'm having a great time.
I was a little worried about this week's episode. When I saw the Glorio fight and the cow fight, I was like, "Oh, nothing's gonna happen." But you know, like I didn't hate it. I liked it.
Yeah,
but yeah, we're chugging quite along. Chugging quite along. We're chugging right along.
Right along. Let's go into a little bit more of the mythology. We touched on it a minute ago, but let's talk about the whole Glens. They did a little more backstory in this episode. We found out that Glens are born from trees.
Yes.
And there's only 5 trees, so they are extraordinarily rare. Mm-hmm. And I guess that, and you know what? I have to give a shout out to one of the watchers on our YouTube pod. They actually said that like 3 or 4 weeks ago that, you know, Akira Toriyama did mention that the Kais are born from trees. And we actually got to see some images, and we'll put it up on the board here, on the green screen here, of them being born, which is actually really cool. And another expansion of the universe of Dragon Ball that I love. That's my thing. I would love the world building. I love the mythology. So just to have a couple minutes of that was pretty cool. And I hope that eventually we get to see like the Glens like home planet land where they are born, and just to fill out the vibe of that.
Right. I did like the detail when Goku's taking a dump, and then those the royal guards come and they interrogate Glorio, Pansy, and Kaioshin.
Yeah, the Zelda goblins, as I like to call them. They look like the Zelda goblins.
The Zelda goblins, for sure. I was like, oh, it's the stormtroopers. Yeah. It's like, you know, all that stuff. But I like that detail where there was tension over the fact that someone from the first, second, and third demon world are all kind of just like traveling together. And they're like, that's pretty sus. Like, why would anybody do that? That doesn't make any sense. And that was a cool detail. I kind of was hoping that maybe a little bit more would come out of that, you know, but
at least a fight. I thought a fight scene would at least happen, like a Goku fight scene, just knock those guys out.
I thought Goku would like shout out like, "Hey, I ran out of toilet paper," or something like that. But I'm also happy that I wasn't right, because it's like, okay, it wasn't completely predictable or whatever. So
and you didn't really need it, but
you didn't. No,
I mean, narratively, I guess that little scene just helped to put a little more stakes, saying that Goku has a bounty on his head now. So another Star Wars reference.
And that Pansy, even though she's a princess, is also collared.
Yeah. So even so in the third demon world, everyone has to have those collars on. So I guess they're all kind of enslaved in the third demon world, in a way. So to speak. So he's got a 10 gold piece bounty on his head, which I guess in Dragon Ball world that's a hefty amount. And Daima, I don't know.
That's worth quite a bit. I mean, because the tax in the third demon world is 3 coins.
And that's a year, it's 9 years of life.
It's 9 years of life. So I mean, do the math.
Yeah. So we found a little bit that, you know, they had to, you know, this isn't really that important, but they did have to declutter the plane a little bit. Classic Spaceballs move to get that thing up and running again. And then we did find out about the Glens. So that, I mean, I don't know. For me, I think that might have been the most narrative important part, besides Glorio talking to Arinsu. But it was cool to kind of figure that out. Oh, it does pose a question, by the way, DK. Now, if the Supreme Kais, Goku mentions that they're basically gods in our world.
Right.
Is it just the Glens? Are they like a different kind of race that has more magical abilities or more godlike abilities than, let's say, Pansy or her family, or just the Glorio kind of demons?
I don't know, because we've never really seen anything spectacular out of Kaioshin except for telepathic communication, which he completely ignored in this episode when he shouted at Goku like, "Hey, be a little bit more serious, because I want to see how strong Glorio really is." It's like, we know he can communicate telepathically and even read minds, so why not do that detail? Yeah, I don't know, because here, the thing about, you know, Kaioshin and Glens becoming gods and stuff like that, we haven't even touched on the fact that King Kai also has pointy ears.
Right.
Yeah, so he's also from the demon world. So it seems like being a god is just the easiest job to get in our universe. It's like, just if you come from the demon world, you fill out an application and then you're just god.
Yeah, you pretty much have god level status. You know, but at least King Kai, you know, he has the Namekian pillar, fillers too for long range talking. You know,
yes, he does. Yeah,
he can do those. Those are his extenders for his range, so he can communicate across universes pretty easily.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, so it does beg the question, and I don't know that the question has an answer because can you remember? And again, I'm not as versed in the Buu saga as I am in, say, the Saiyan or Namek saga, but does Kaioshin ever do anything useful?
I mean, they just talk.
Is he even strong?
Yeah, they just talk about they help unleash Gohan's power,
right?
You know, and then they give him a sword, you know, the mystical sword. That's about it. And they
even when he fuses with Kibito, it's like he's not. It's not like he's fighting Buu,
right?
Yeah. So
I mean. Not to interrupt, but in a way, I think this is actually why Daima is kind of important, right? Because we know that the Kais were not as fleshed out in the Buu saga as they needed to be, or even the Majins in the Buu saga were fleshed out. It was just kind of like, hey, here's this soup. We're gonna stir this pot and see what happens. And we really were left with a lot of unanswered questions, which is, you know, we're slowly getting them in Daima, but like, you know, it's a slow burn. I mean, we're not like getting everything we need to know at once, which is fine with me too. But great question. Let us know. Hey, if you're watching at home, let us know any other abilities that the Kais have that, you know, besides telepathic communication, you know,
the Patara earrings,
the earrings, the flying.
Is there like some source or some information and some compendium material that like actually spells out why the Glens can become gods or whatever, or like, you know, because I mean, all we know of gods in Dragon Ball so far is that they're all demons, like Kami, you know, King Kai,
the Namekians,
the Glens, So what's special about them? What do they do? And also, did Kaioshin ever do anything useful that I'm not remembering? Like, just let me know, because I know he scared Piccolo at the Tenkaichi Budokai and the thing. Like, he scared him because Piccolo just knew who he was,
right?
But I feel like after that, he never did anything useful at all.
I don't know. I mean that's a great point, but it's that's what we're here for. That's what Daima. Hopefully, we can, you know, get to the bottom of this for the first time ever. I mean,
maybe. Yeah,
I mean, the Buu saga came out decades ago, you know, and we're finally getting answers to questions we've always wanted. So, I really do want to see in the future. I do want to see more of. I'm sure we are. I hope. I mean, hell. I mean, okay. So I would love to see all three of the demon worlds like in depth. We've already seen a pretty good portion and got a good reference to like what the third demon world is. You know, kind of like the street class, the lower class, the outcast, the Tatooine-ish kind of people on the distant island, the distant world. Right. What does Demon World 2 look like? You know, what's the kind of socio-economic kind of community? What's the, you know, demographics there, and what's that compared to the first?
If Daima is a one and done season, I feel like we'll get to Demon World 2 next episode, because we'd already be basically a third of the way through. Yeah, I mean, if it's a 20 episode order,
because we're already at what, 6 or 7 now.
Yeah, it'll be 7, so it'll be just over a third of the way through.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, hopefully we get to see stuff. I mean, the next episode is called Collar, so I think that, you know, the fact that Pansy has a collar is gonna obviously play a big role in that. I mean that's no that's no like genius insight. It's like, yeah, it's called Collar. I think it's gonna be about a collar.
You know what though? Yeah, I mean we're joking a lot here, but one of my favorite parts of this episode, which I've been waiting forever for since episode 1, is to get back in touch with all the folks back home on Earth, you know, in our universe. That was kind of cool. We finally got to go back. I like that
Vegeta in his tiny body is just squatting. Yeah.
and you know what? It's not even a real flex, Vegeta, because when you're that short and you're squatting like 10,000 pounds, he only has to go up and down like this much, right? So like, the shorter you are, the easier it is to squat. So I think that's still a crutch, Vegeta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that doesn't really count. But
I don't think he was doing it to get stronger. I think it was what Piccolo said. It's like Saiyans just can't sit still.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, if I don't do this, I'm going to go insane. So I'm just going to squat just for the fun of it.
I mean, we do need them to get more involved in this series, I think, at this point. Because I feel like we've kind of run out of a little bit of runway with Pansy and Glorio. you know, we can't keep retreading the Supreme Kai questioning Glorio. We know now that he is in a cahoots with Arisu.
Right.
Maybe they're lovers, or maybe they're related as well. Well, actually, he's not, because
He's from the third demon world, and she seems pretty conniving. So does she have some leverage on him?
Yeah.
Like, is she holding a family member hostage? There's a joke I made in one of the earlier episodes where it's like, I have to do this for my sister who's dying from demon cancer,
exactly.
something like that.
And I don't think, and let's be real, Glorio, we don't think he has a bad heart. I think in the end he's going to be like very much a Han Solo-ish character, or he's the big bad, or he's the big bad.
If he's Han Solo-ish, what I would love for him is to just be completely self-interested.
Yeah.
So it's like he's double-crossing Goku and Kaioshin, but he's also double-crossing Arinsu.
That's what I assume is going to happen.
So he has some ulterior motive that is his own. That's what I'm hoping is the case. But
we'll find out more. What else about anything that happened on at Kami's Lookout? Nothing really. I mean, Bulma fixed the ship, but it didn't really fix it. It blew up again, which that was kind of frustrating, because I'm really excited for them to join together. I mean,
it really did not need to be there. It's like I really couldn't care less. It's like, just move the plot in the demon world along. Only cut back to Earth when they are on their way. It's like I mean, because it was 6 minutes, I think, 6 minutes of just superfluous nonsense of, oh look, Vegeta's squatting. Oh, now the ship is fixed.
It's like 2
oh,
minutes,
now we're in the. Oh yeah, it felt longer because then like when the ship crashed, I was just like, seriously, like, we're not moving the plot forward, but we're gonna do this. It's like the ship doesn't work. It's like, man.
I just feel that it's important that Piccolo and Vegeta, I mean, Kibito too. Kibito, I could honestly, real talk, I could care less about Kibito. But like having Piccolo there with Vegeta, with Goku interacting as kids in their younger, like, chibi form, that's going to make for some great comedy moments. It's going to make for some great tension. And it's going to be cool for Piccolo to get more insight into the demon world where he's from.
Well, let's not fully knock Kibito. They're going to need their Uber driver once they get to the demon world to pick up food and stuff like that. So,
Poor Kibito, that guy was getting, I mean, I'm treating him just like Bulma was. He was kind of discarded and used as an Uber Eats guy.
It's funny the things that Pansy focuses on, where she's like, oh, I hear that glins come from trees or whatever. It's like, it didn't spark any curiosity in her at all that Goku is like, Kaioshin is basically a godlike figure in our universe. Like, because that, to me, that would have triggered like, wait a minute, how did you become a god? Like, what is the criteria for becoming a god? That's insane. And it's like, well, I'm telepathic, and there just happened to be a job opening because the other Glend before me went insane.
But here's what I'm thinking. Like, what if Pansy goes to the Earth realm and becomes living with the humans? Then what if she has godlike abilities too? Like, what if it's just like transferring from the demon world to another world gives it abilities? Just like Superman has no powers on Krypton, but he has max powers on Earth, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is the whole point of Dragon Ball to smuggle in the idea that like we should all worship demons? It's like the biggest hero on Earth's name is Mr. Satan. Everybody chants Hail Satan, Hail Satan. And then like all the demons are gods and stuff like that. I'm just joking. I don't actually think that, but I could see somebody like in a deep Baptist like thing, like, don't let your children watch Dragon Ball. They're gonna worship the demon world.
I mean, Dabura looks like your generic Satan looking character.
He does,
so he's very much a demon kind of character. But like we said, a lot of these demons are actually kind-hearted, good demon people.
They're just people. They just live in the demon world. Which I'm now that you say that, I'm like, wait a minute. So like, what makes the demon world the demon world? I mean, like, because I guess demon is such a loaded term, right? In English, but also in Japanese, like all the various words for demon, like it's a loaded term that like implies something evil. But there's not really any evil that we've seen in the demon world except for like Goma's empire.
Yeah, which is not even that evil. Maybe the goblin guys are kind of evil, but everything's pretty tame there.
They're just doing their job.
Yeah. Okay. One last final thought before we leave here today is this: if the Glins are born from a tree, and the Namekian demons are born from eggs, what are all the other demons born from? Is it something unique and weird, kind of like those versions, or are they just born the natural kind of way?
Yeah. Does anyone know how King Kai was born?
Yeah.
What is the evolution of his race?
Exactly.
How is he born? Is he like born from a car?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, a car drives and then the exhaust turns into a cloud and then the King Kai comes out.
Did he come from Xeno? Who knows? I have no idea. But I would be funny if like in 10 episodes from now we find out like, oh, the pansies like race of demons, which I don't have a proper name for yet. But what if they're born from some
collared ones?
The collared ones are born from some weird other way. Because it was always interesting when we saw the Namekians born from eggs, spit out their mouth, and then now the Galens are born from trees. So, and I guess that does have some significance from a spiritual perspective because trees are giver of life and they drink the water. And they even mentioned that in this episode too. So it's there could be something there, but right now it's just all theories. Yeah.
I wonder why Frieza's family never applied for godship. I feel like they were always the strongest in the universe, and none of them were ever like, you know what, I'm just going to be a god randomly.
I do think it's funny that they can just kind of get out of the demon world. They get their passports, they leave, and they said, hey, I guess we were ultra powerful here, so we're just going to label ourselves as gods and live like deities.
One last question, because we're just on a question rabbit hole.
Yeah, but it's fun.
Was it a Kaioshin that sealed Majin Buu away and killed Bibidi? Oh no, they killed Bibidi, and that's why Majin Buu was sealed away, right? Because the power was tied to it. Except Babidi dies, and then whatever. Okay, my question is, if anybody out there knows, and if you know too. Is Kaioshin stronger than Frieza was in the Frieza saga? That's all I need to know to measure his power. Like is he stronger? Could he have taken Frieza because he was basically God?
I don't think so. I bet
I don't think so either.
I think Frieza was strong as hell. I mean, hell, even Kaioshin needs Goku for the demon world. They need Goku to help because he's the strongest fighter in the universe.
Right.
So that's a fact by now. So
and is Beerus also from the demon world because he has pointy ears, or is he just a cat?
I think he is from a different kind of like, how God of War has, the original one that had the Greek mythology, and now they're kind of getting into the Norse mythology.
Yeah.
I think they're doing the same thing with the angels and the gods from, Dragon Ball Super, with Whis being an angel and Beerus being God of destruction. I think they're going more Egyptian god route in that one.
Oh,
man. They're doing a kind of a segue, a different adjacent, as we should say.
It would be so funny to me. It would piss so many people off, but it would be so funny if after Daima wraps up and all the fans are like, okay, cool, Daima's done. We're finally going to get Super. This is great. And then Toei announces like, hey, guess what? Before Toriyama Sensei passed away, he wrote an outline for a follow-up story to Daima where Goku and his friends travel to Beerus's world, the cat world. It's called Dragon Ball Neko, and it's 40 episodes long where they're just traveling through Egyptian cat world or whatever. I would laugh so hard if something like that happened.
But guess what? I'd still watch it.
I'd probably still watch it. Yeah, I might groan about it. I might gripe about it, but I don't think we're ever going back to how bad those early seasons of Super looked. I think that forever Toei is just gonna throw a ton of money at Dragon Ball.
It deserves it. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Dragon Ball.
The fans want it, and the animators want it too. Like they're all those animation super fans like Nakatsu out there who are like, look,
they're passionate.
Just let me remake Dragon Ball. Let me make it look like the manga. Because the original Dragon Ball series is beautiful, but of course, like with any anime adaptation, it diverges from the material in terms of design and stuff like that. But we know from Dragon Ball Superhero that if Nakatsu is at the helm, the animation is going to look like the manga.
That was dope.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you as always for joining us here at Nerdyjock as we cover Dragon Ball Daima week to week.
And remember, we are on a journey, so take it easy. Don't get too stressed out.
Right.
Just kind of get in the back seat and just kind of go for the ride every week. Or don't watch it for the next 10 weeks and then just binge the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
If you don't want to watch it, if you're on the fence, some people have told me that they aren't watching it, they're just watching this pod to hear about it, but that it's actually making them want to like watch it at some point. It's like, great. Thank you for joining us, even though you're not watching it. Hopefully we are inspiring people to kind of sit down and binge, because this is a very relaxing show.
It's a chill vibe. It's a chill vibe, man.
It does. It makes you feel calm. Yeah. It's a nice little, it's like sipping a lazy river. Yeah. Sipping a tea, lazy river.
Just think, let's go check in on Goku and the gang and Dragon Ball Daima land.
And yeah, I mean, this is just a great season for anime in general. We'll talk more about that on the other pod, but for now, like and subscribe. And follow us on all of our social media. We're everywhere. Instagram.
Smash that button.
X, which is his favorite. They're a sponsor. They're not.
Great platform.
I love every time we mention X. You always have to. Great platform. Love it.
Love it.
Love it. He's an X Superman.
I was an OG Twitter guy. I got on where you had to when you had to learn how do you use this app,
Right.
Kinda like
what the hell is a
Reddit.
hashtag? Yeah.
Exactly. I learned it, and I was like an early adapter to Twitter, so I'm just still kind of on the X game, but
for sure.
but yeah, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, we're on all those apps as well, and also, if you don't want to look at our ugly mugs, you can always just listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, anywhere you can find listen to a podcast. We're there for you.
And if you're there and you want to look at our ugly mugs, come on over to YouTube. It's the premier experience.
It is.
I've been rocking Gojo glasses for the last, I think, 8 pods
and check out this super cool jersey DK has today.
Yeah, we got this Z Fighters baseball jersey from animeape.com.
Yeah.
They're not a sponsor. And they've inspired me to purchase more jerseys from my favorite anime properties.
Because
so,
you know me, I got to have the cutoffs. So I just rip the cutoffs.
He's got the muscles. I've got more of a baseball physique, which is to say that I don't have to be in shape to be good at that sport.
All right.
Ooh, shots fired.
No,
I'm kidding. They work very hard. Anyways, thank you so much. We'll be back here next week, and catch us on our other pod, What We're Watching Fall 2024.
We will see you soon. We've got a lot of episodes to catch up on. Dan to Dan, Ranma 1/2, a little bit of Blue Lock, a little bit of everything. So it is a ride, and we're going to be keeping that up too. So check us out later, and we'll talk to you soon.
Abayo.
Os.
Oh,
well, that was off, but whatever. Okay,
that's fine.
Good pod. That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good one.
All right.